Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Turab and I am here to explain that why am I building a PC editing suite with i9, the Intel 10th generation. So we have chosen i9 10th generation and it has a speed of 3.7 gigahertz, and the more important than that is the L3 cache, which is 20 MB. It's a revolutionary new processor which is doing absolutely miracles these days. It's very hard to find. We had to wait a whole 6 weeks to get hold of this little monster. So once it's here, so we thought, okay, what do we need to actually avoid bottlenecking for our PC editing suite? Bear in mind that we are building an editing suite that will run Adobe applications, for example, Premiere Pro first and foremost, then Photoshop, of course, Lightroom, and Audition. So, Adobe Audition, by the way. So bottlenecking is one thing that everybody struggles with. You choose and you buy some components that are basically parallel to each other in terms of the specs and efficiencies. However, you end up buying one thing such that is not as efficient the rest of the group of components you have chosen for your editing suite. That could be your motherboard or your RAM or your graphic card. So all these components has to be at least minimum specs to basically carry each other together, otherwise it will create a bottleneck. So we thought, okay, we will let you know that what we are going for. So first of all, it's i9 and the base speed is 3.7 gigahertz with L3 cache of 20 MB. The motherboard it needs is minimum this. We have chosen the ASUS Tough Gaming. It says Tough Gaming, but is equally good for our editing suite. Why is it called Tough Gaming? Because it has the heat sinks and heat dispersion things on it, so which actually helps it cool down a lot. So that's why it's called Tough Gaming. It has many features. For example, it has 4 slots for memory sticks, and each the maximum of 128 gigabyte of memory you can install. However, we think that Premiere Pro does not need more than 32 GB of RAM, and therefore we have only bought 32 GB of RAM. And the speed is important of these, along with the size of the RAM, is 32 megahertz. So 32 GB of size, 32 megahertz of the speed of these RAMs. These are of course DDR4 RAMs, which will be actually DDR4 is the architecture that this motherboard needs. Okay, so it also has, it's from Corsair Vengeance RGB Pro, so there's a bit of lights in your life, or I think the editing suite's life. With that, we came up with the idea of having a graphic card of RTX, NVIDIA RTX 2070 Super. Now this one gives us 2560 CUDA cores. Okay, let me explain that. For an editing suite, you will need a maximum number of CUDA cores. Well, you might run out and go buy a graphic card that has huge amount of CUDA cores, but the thing is that will not solve the problem. You will need memory bandwidth, and you will need the base clock, and so forth, all these things together, and then you can basically decide a graphic card. So this one has 2560 CUDA cores, and its base clock is 1605 megahertz base clock. Its memory speed is 14 GB per second, and its bandwidth is 448, whereas memory interface width is 256 bits. So these are the specs we thought are minimum required with this i9 little monster. Now we could have gone with 2070 RTX only and not for the Super, but it was only a 50 quid or so extra on the deal, so we bought this. Otherwise 2070 will do very nicely with i9. Now these are very, very power hungry components. So in our calculation, the minimum power supply you needed was 700 watts gold module. However, in the same price, there was a deal going on, and we could buy this monster of a power supply, which is 850 watts, and it's more than enough to run this machine. I'll repeat again, the minimum you will need for this machine is 700 watts power supply. We bought most of these things, actually all of these things, from IAPC based in Manchester, United Kingdom. You can order online as well. Well, I think these days, because of the COVID, it's only online orders, and they will deliver it within the next 2 days, and that solves all your problem. They're very efficient, and I have been using them for many years, and this video is not sponsored by them. I wished it was, but it wasn't. Okay, now that you have this monster and these things together, you will need to keep this little processor cool as well. Now most people would think that the heat sink and the fan that comes with it should be enough. I'm afraid not. You will need a liquid cooler. You will need a liquid cooler, and the liquid cooler we have chosen is the Corsair, and it's called H45. It's got a decent size of fan and the radiator, and it does rather nicely. You can spend more money and get even better than these. This is probably £55 worth water cooler, but 4K video editing, this is enough. You don't need to spend more money. Trust me, you don't. Yeah, you don't. Cool. The drives, the hard drives. Okay, so we have gone with the Samsung Evo Plus M2 NVMe SSD drive. These are the new M2 SSDs, and they are very fast. Now we will install the operating system on it as well as the Adobe application, nothing else. This is an editing suite, so why would you install anything else on it and basically wear it down? It reduces the efficiency. You wouldn't, I wouldn't, so you shouldn't. So this will only install, this will only host the operating system, Windows, the Adobe applications, and nothing else. And this little fellow here is just a normal, usual 120 GB simple SSD drive. The cheapest you can find will do. What will this do is basically you will tell your Premiere Pro to store your media cache files on it, and not on your operating system or software drive, and not on your normal storage hard drive. SSD, which is far more faster than a normal hard drive, SSD drive will host the media cache files. And how do you tell your Premiere Pro software to store your media cache files on it? It's very simple. Go on Edit. It's very simple. Go on Edit, Preferences, and Media. And there it will tell you that where it's storing, and by default it stores on the C, and this will be our C. So you tell it, no, please don't do that, and change it to this little fellow. And then of course you will have your 40 terabyte or 8 terabyte or I don't know 1 terabyte normal hard drive for your footage. Make sure it's a high speed one. The maximum speed you can get would be nice. Compromise on the storage size, but don't compromise on storage speed. And this case is the last thing I'm going to talk about. And well, there's nothing to talk about it. The only thing you need to take care of is it has enough space to host and store all these components in a manner that they don't basically struggle for space and air. The more space you leave between the components, especially the hard drives, the more airflow is there going to be, and the more airflow means the cooler your system. The cooler your system means the faster your edits. That was my tips, and this is going to be my beloved editing suite for next, I think it should do for next couple of years nicely. I've spent £2,000 on it. Yes, £2,000 only, which I think for 4K i9 processor editing suite is quite efficient. Yeah, that was me with my tips on editing suite, and I'll see you soon.